We are live. We're live now. We're live now.
We tried to be live a minute ago, but it didn't work.
We probably were bumbling over each other. I want to welcome everybody to this episode of Raw Dog. And we've got 0 people watching. So I don't know, Ed. It's just me and you, man.
Yeah, we're good with that. There'll be some
Yep.
people show up.
Hey, we got one person watching. Who's watching?
Drop a comment.
Chime in. Drop a comment. Tell us who's watching, where you're from.
We don't really have any. We kind of go into these totally blind, which fits.
The thing is, when we start like in the pre-show, we start talking about stuff, and we're like, stop, don't talk anymore about that.
Well, that's what we always do. I mean, like me and Tanner, when we do our podcast, we either go hunting with the people or we hang out a little bit before. So if there are people we don't know, we kind of get comfortable with them before we don't just jump straight into a podcast. And every time, like, we'll get into these great conversations, and we're like, stop, because you cannot recreate. You can't recreate those conversations.
Never.
You can try to, but it always comes off as
sounds canned.
Yeah, that's why I always tell you
scripted.
I tell you, like, if you have an idea you want to talk about, do not tell me, because I'll overthink it, and then I have it. I just can't help myself. I like plan it out in my head, like what I'm gonna say, and then it comes out like totally scripted and shitty.
You got Mr. T.L. Jones and Daryl Bales in the house. I know where T.L. Jones is from. He's from Greenville, Tennessee. Had a really good conversation with him this week. Where are you from, Daryl? Daryl Bales, tell us where you're from, man.
I
don't know where's Maisie at.
Oh, well, I don't know. There's probably a lot of Maisies. There's a Maisie County right here by me. But I thought Bales was a bear hunter, but I could be wrong.
Might be.
Not in Oklahoma. It's illegal.
Maisie, Oklahoma. He is from Maisie.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. You got the
hometown. Not a bear hunter. Not a bear hunter.
Not a bear hunter. Absolutely not.
I think he runs rabbit dogs.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, why don't you tell us, until we get some people in here and kind of drive the conversation, you just got back from the Horsehounds and Mules. How'd that go? What's that like?
Yeah, I was actually in New Mexico. I left on the 25th of June and got back here last Monday, a week ago yesterday. So I spent a lot of time out there in like heaven on earth, northern New Mexico. And I was not a bear hunter either. Treat a dry ground line out there in the dirt with 2 dogs. Cool. One of them was a terrier. And I got, total transparency here. Everything just came together. I had stopped on the mesa, and I just planned on leggings, getting some road miles in on a couple dogs and wearing tough down a little bit. That's 24-hour. That's an 18-hour a day job, is getting that little sucker worn down. Yeah. I hadn't gone 100 yards, and man, the wind was coming from my right to my left, and they did a big sin hook, and when I saw it in both of them, they just whipped to my right and got over there in the edge of the brush. And Tough's actually the one that opened on it first, and trailed it through there and caught it in a little short cedar tree. And I was just beating the brush in there, of course. And as I got closer with my inability to hear very well, I was like, that sounds like a lion hissing and growling at him. And I'm walking in there without my camera up, without anything. And sure enough, as a mountain lion, treed that sucker, jumped out of the tree, ran down the canyon. And they treat it for about another hour or so and put him back up again. And then, but yeah, the whole experience. I love northern New Mexico. It's an awesome place. But yeah, Shorty and I went to the Horses, Hounds, and Mules sale. That was just an awesome event. Those guys put on a great event. They've got pretty good stock. They're working really hard to get the best quality stock there that you know um, that they can. Hounds, they're great. There's cool horses there. There were great mules there. I mean, it was just a great sale.
Was last year the first time they had that? It's the first
No,
time I
this
heard
is
about it.
this is the third year that they've done it, and
What?
everybody I talked to um, said that it keeps improving every year.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, we saw. I mean, I'm pretty sure most people saw it on Facebook. But the high dog auction for 17,800.
hmm
Second dog was 17,000. But I never heard anything about the mules. Do you remember what the mules brought? The high mules.
I did. I was videotaping a lot of stuff and doing different stuff, but I don't remember what that high mule brought. Um, I don't even want to say because
Yeah.
I don't remember. Horses, Hounds, and Mules have released all that on their social media stuff. So anybody that wants to know can go there and check it out.
Me and Chris were talking earlier before we went live, and kind of that format that they've got going is something that is is special, and
Houndsmen
I,
don't do it enough. We
yeah,
don't have enough events like that where we get together and showcase who we are. The cool thing about the Horses, Hounds, and Mules is you've got people there that are just looking to buy a horse or a hound or a mule, and they don't think about the hounds, but they get to interact with these houndsmen and the representation of the houndsmen there. I mean, going down the list, and I'm gonna leave people out. I'm not trying to do this, but you got the Derringers, you got the Whitaker brothers, you got Meekums, you got Brick Bean that sold the highest selling dog, and we interviewed Van Johnson, dropped him yesterday on the podcast. Van is just that is a cool guy. I'm
he lives in
telling you,
Oklahoma now, I think.
he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep. He's in Oklahoma, and Van's got so much experience. And when I walk into events like that, I'm just like all ears. I have nothing to offer. I'm
Oh
just
yeah.
there to learn.
You get like
Seriously,
I mean the old saying, you got one mouth, two ears.
that's right. And being around those guys and I mean Hunter Meekum, I don't even know how old he is. I think he's less than 30. But I've said it 100 times or 1,000 times or a million times. I don't know. But if you're not learning from everybody around you, man, you're cheating yourself. Hunter Meekum is a real deal. He
I mean
hunts.
when I get in those situations where I'm around, a bunch of houndsmen, you can pretty quickly, figure out who are the top, who are the guys you want to listen to. And when you get around them, just say just enough to keep their mouth moving and listen. And, I see so many people that get around those guys and they want to try to impress that guy.
hmm
So they do all the talking. And it's like, man, you're missing the opportunity here. Like, check your ego. Like I say, just say enough just to keep their mouths moving and listen up.
If somebody comes up to me at an event like that and starts talking to me about all the things they've accomplished, then I get turned off real quick. Um, I I just think that's the wrong way to go about things. And I know people have this need to be validated and different stuff, but the crowd that I was in, I mean, there's a wealth of knowledge in that crowd, and then you come over and you try to start proving yourself. I mean, it's a natural thing, and I get it. It's human
Yeah.
nature to do it, but it's like, hey, dude, just pump the brakes a little bit, and
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to that old saying, like, I won't even say the old saying, but, uh, you know, you don't have to remind everybody. So get enough knowledge where people want to listen to you instead of you forcing people to listen to, you know, you talk about you.
You know,
Try to be that,
if you're
try to
so
be that,
busy, if you're so busy slapping yourself on the back, there ain't any room for anybody else to pat you on the back.
yeah. Like Pat
Yeah,
always says, it's not Pat saying, but it's a good saying. A lion doesn't have to go around reminding everybody he's a lion.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
So,
But
Randy, I mean, yeah, we want to let the people kind of direct it. We might get back to horse and hounds, but Randy Durrell, uh, one of the top Bay Pen guys. Have you seen a coon dog that was transitioned into a hog dog go back to being a decent coon dog?
I'm out on this one, Ed.
Well,
I've never seen either.
a coon dog or a hog dog?
I've got
I've,
some stuff that I pack around that's pretty trashy that'll do both, but a decent was it a good coon dog. See, that's you got to read it word by word. A good coon dog, the transitioning into a hog dog goes back to a decent coon dog.
well, I mean, you can't really blame the dog at that point. Uh, and my question is, if you've got a good coon dog, why you transition it into a hog dog?
Let me address that
What's
because I've
that?
done. Let me address that because I've done it. I've like my Diablo dog. He's a decent coon dog. He was a good trained, a good coon dog. And then I decided I was taking him hog hunting because he's Bayou Cajun bred. He ought to be able to catch hogs too. And then I bring him back here, and he's decent coon dog. I mean, I'm not the best dog I've ever had, but I think a lot of times it's just somebody's personal preference. And me personally, I want to hunt. I want my dogs to hunt what I'm hunting that day, and sometimes they hunt more than what I'm hunting that day. I had an epic elk race while I was uh, roading some dogs in New Mexico, and that's just part of it. But
I mean, going back to Randy's question, part of it is so if you've got a dog that was a decent coon dog, you turn him into a hog dog. So uh, I don't know if Randy was hog hunting or whoever Randy knows was hog hunting at night or during the day. I mean, that's going to be the easiest thing to do is that coon hunt that dog at night, hog hunt him during the day. Dogs seem to pick up that pattern faster. There's other cues where dogs will, like a cow dog can be a hog dog and he will pick up on cues even though it's both daytime or whatever that he knows what you want him to do. But that's going to cut. Oh, excuse me. That's going to come later. So, were you hunting the dog at night? Can't really blame him. Did you put him in some dirt where there what I mean, did he hog hunt for a long time? There weren't no hog sign, and then I don't even know if you could really call it, but trashed on a hog or a coon. So I mean, you got to kind of set dogs up. You got to kind of be aware of that, what's going on.
dogs are 85%, and I might be a little bit high on that, but like 85% nonverbal communication. That's how
Oh yeah.
they communicate with each other. And they transition that over to people as well. Your behaviors, how you cue them up. And I tell you 100%, a little terrier knows the difference. He knows when we're getting ready to go on a road trip. He knows when we're getting ready to hunt. And sometimes he's just a little jackass and decides he's going to do things his way and goes hunting when I want to really feed him or go somewhere. But most of the time, those dogs know by your nonverbal cues what you're getting ready to do. And like my dogs, when I'm bear hunting, a little bit different between bear. and some of the big game daytime stuff. But they know. Tough knows when we cross the Ohio River on the Markland Dam. I'm not lying about this. I've seen it probably half a dozen times now, and I started paying attention to it because we would come across the Markland Dam, and he'd start acting real erratic in the back seat. And after a long road trip, and I put the window down on the back, he'd stick his head out, and he's like really excited. And he was that way for 20 minutes until we pulled in the driveway. He, those dogs have strong homing. All dogs have that real strong homing ability, and they pick up on stuff that we don't even realize they're picking up on. That's what I'm trying to say.
Me and Tanner just did a podcast. It'll be out in a couple of weeks, but we did one with Clue Anderson, famous yellow dog guy.
That's going to be a good one, man.
It's
I
a
can't
it's a
wait to hear it.
it's a really good one. But like he was saying, he mainly bear hunts and hog hunts with plots. But back in his older days, he was hog hunting and catching cows with yellow dogs. And I was asking him if he had a, you know, hard time letting the dogs, like what we're talking about, letting the dogs know what we were after. And he said, if I loaded them yellow dogs in a horse trailer and pulled that horse trailer 12 feet down the road and then got them out, they knew, if they went in a horse trailer, they knew they was going to gather cows. And he said that if they went just in a dog box, they knew we was hog hunting or bear hunting.
We used to do the same thing, Ed, when we were police canine trainers. Like we had three different distinct pieces of equipment that we used. When we were doing man tracking, we used a tracking harness, a whole body harness, and that dog knew what its job was going to be. When I was doing an area search, say out in the field for firearms evidence or whatever it was, then we used a snap collar. And we were doing detection work around a vehicle, then we would unleash the or unhook the snap from the live ring on a choke collar and snap it into the dead ring. And those dogs learned real quick, through gear association, what their job was.
Yeah. I mean, Roy says that a dog could have a preference, and I'm totally agree with that. Like,
No doubt.
yeah, so a long time ago, I got a dog from a pretty famous chicken fighter and squirrel hunter right here by the house. And he had a mountain cur that was trashing on hogs just like constantly. It would tree squirrels, but when it came across a hog track, it wanted to run it. So he was going to kill it, and a guy who was hunting with him was like, "No, no, don't kill it." He's like, "I know where that thing needs to go." And he come to my house, and he turned out to be a great hog dog because I just worked within what he wanted to do.
Right.
But it kind of goes back to what Randy was saying. So he was a quote hog dog. But if we hunted for 3 hours and there was no hog tracks around to run, he was going to tree some squirrels. So we just carried a 22 in the truck, and if it was season, we didn't care.
I had a plot female that was the same way. She was not a locating type coon dog, but I sent her down south, and she became a good hog dog. She was a track driving type dog. She was a real track minded dog, and she ended up going down south and making a good hog dog. So
Yeah. I mean, when you see those dogs that have a natural inclination to something, if it's not going to work for you, find somebody that's going to work for. Because to me, those make the best dogs. Like when you get a dog that picks his own thing, that's, as Roy said, that's what he wants to do. If it's not your deal, kick him down the road and let him do it with somebody else.
sometimes dogs just need a new zip code. You know, if
Yeah.
if I'm a competition coon hunter, and I'm paying big entry fees, and I've got a dog that would be better suited running big game, I'd be crazy to. I mean, why pound a square peg in a round hole?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, Jake. Yingling Light's pretty good in the summer. Yingling Heavy's good in the winter. It's the old. It's the oldest American-made brewery. It sounds like it's Chinese, but it's American. I think Tanner's making a jab at you there.
What's Tanner saying? I can't even see Tanner's comment yet. I'm looking at John Rudder. John Rudder is the so everybody knows John Rudder's the president of the New Mexico Houndsman Association. And let's see what he's saying. My dogs know if I'm free casting at night, we're putting bandits up. I leave them in the truck in the day while I investigate. They know I'm trying to cut cats. My blue ticks and red bones are more oriented. The walkers love those coons. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I mean, you got to know your dogs. That's what it really comes down to. I mean, the dog's going to do what he wants to a degree.
Yeah,
But then you got to know your dogs and know what their tendencies are.
for sure. For sure. What else you are we reading comments?
Yeah, I'm reading, trying to keep up.
Me too.
It's getting a little bit hard to keep up with the comments. So if we haven't got to yours, just stay put because we got to talk a little
We
bit
need
about
it.
each
We
one.
need a producer. We need to get Joe the neighbor
Yeah,
on as a producer. What's Tanner saying?
I don't really know. He's
Tree
probably
bear or pull a skunk out of a hole? I don't even know. What?
he's probably poking it when we went bear hunting and
Oh
we're
yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah, that was a legit rig, man. That skunk was like 500 yards away, and my dogs rigged that sucker from the truck and made a beeline right to it. That was an amazing feat.
I'm pretty sure they stretched it.
I'm pretty
Can I?
sure they did too, because camp smelled like skunk for a few days.
But then again, I mean, you put high drive dogs in a dog box and drive. I don't know how far it is from your house to where we're at in New Mexico. 14, 15 hours probably.
26.
26.
Yeah,
They want to do something. You
yeah,
know,
they do.
I'm
They're
not.
whatever it is.
Yeah, I'm not putting any blame on them. They treat us bear every day. Well, no, one day we come up dry, but they treat us bear every other day.
Yep,
Let's
yep.
see what. Yeah, in Oklahoma there is.
What are you looking at? There's a season. Oh, there's a season on squirrels in Indiana as well, Jake.
Yeah, we have one here. It got extended to the point where we're just pretty much cut out uh, while they're whelping their young. But it used to be pretty small. 3, 4 years ago, it got extended. But there is
Do you guys have a spring season? Do you have a
I don't. I'm not a squirrel hunter per se, so I don't know the exact days. But we have pretty much a year round. But we've got probably like a 6 or 8 week stop in there so that they can raise their young
Oh,
in the spring.
that's opposite of where we're at. Our squirrel season runs from August 15th through January 31st. And then, I mean, they're in a spring season. Now, Kentucky has what they call a mulberry season, which is in June and runs for 2 or 3 weeks in June. And then um, their fall season and winter season as well.
Yeah.
We used to have some really good hunts, man. Those late season squirrel hunts when the breeding season's on and stuff. You got some if you had a good tracking dog, and we could really get into them.
Yeah, I mean, nature kind of. I usually have some squirrel dogs around the house that are just yard dogs, but they're pretty decent squirrel dogs. But nature kind of, at least here, dictates the season. I mean, when leaves are on, it is super hard to. I mean, you can tree all day long, but it's super hard to get a visual and get a shot on a squirrel when the leaves are on thick.
I've got a question for Roy. Roy, type in your comment if you after I read these or after ask this question. But the one that prefers hogs, I've had people in the past tell me that it doesn't take a very talented dog to run hogs, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on that, Roy, because you hunt up there in Idaho where you treat lions, you treat bears, and different things. But I've actually heard people say that it doesn't take a very talented dog to run and catch hogs. So, one, my question is, what style of dog is the one that prefers? Is he straight catch? Is he a loose bay? Is he a loose baying hog dog? But what makes him excel at hogs over that?
I've had numerous people tell me over the years, that same thing you're saying. That doesn't take any dog can run a pig. They stink. They're not super incredibly fast. Yeah, I don't buy into that. I mean, you know, yeah, they're going to lay a pretty heavy scent trail. So if you just want a dog to run a pig, it's not that big a deal. But like we were talking about, I can't remember if we were talking about it or if me and Clue were talking about it, but
Can you move your mic a little closer? I got my volume cranked up and
there's
I'm
more, you know,
losing you a little bit.
there's more to catching pigs than just the running part of it. It's the balance, of pressure and back off. Roy says,
I think there's a style to it, and I think everybody has
"Oh
different
yeah,
styles that they want to they want to accomplish.
oh yeah." I mean, I totally hunt for style. Like I like to catch pigs with a certain style. Like it makes me happy. Catching a pig to me is not super exciting if it's sloppy.
What's Ed Barnes' style? What makes you go home in the evenings, after a hunt and say that was a good hunt? What boxes do those dogs have to check?
Well, I mean, we like to free cast, so I want dogs to have to work really hard to hit a track, and then I like a pretty long race, with a pig at the end of it. So I'm after dog work. I'm not after pigs. Like pigs mean nothing to me. We can't sell them anymore. We eat a few, but we can't eat, what we catch. So I like a dog that I want to see dog work. I want to see superb dog work.
What is good dog work? I mean, describe
Well, I
what a
mean,
good
I
dog
mean, I
work is.
I like long casting or medium casting nowadays, but loose dogs that uh, I kind of like a I kind of like a mimic of the old days of like my best hunts are when it looks like it might be 1940 and we just caught some of our range pigs. I like loose dogs. I don't want a dog putting a tooth on one except for a bulldog.
So you like a loose bay dog for
Oh,
hogs.
oh yeah. I mean, I won't tolerate a rough dog.
You what?
I won't tolerate a rough dog. To me, it's no fun. I mean, you can, uh, and I've spoken on this a lot in the past. You can catch more pigs with some rough dogs, but to me, it's kind of cheap and easy and just doesn't have much style to it.
See, that's the interesting thing, because where you're at, this is a perfect example of like hunter progression. Because when I go hog hunting, I rarely need a bulldog. You know, my plots are going to catch, and we're gonna leg some hogs. But the guys down in East Texas that I hunted with this past winter is so great to see. Like Danny Butts is running all loose bay dogs that automatically roll out and go find the next hog. As soon as the bulldog hits, he's
They're
got
done.
dogs. As soon as that bulldog hits, man, they're on the road. They're gone. And so seeing that different style, I was like, okay, I'm at the catching phase here. The
Yeah, you go. Everybody goes. Yeah, everybody goes
limiting
through
out
that.
phase when he's in the this has got to do it like this. And
And that's part of the reason why I like loose dogs. I like that like compart compartmentalization of each dog's job. So I like that, like, because we'll have, we're gonna have one or two dogs that are better strike dogs. They're still gonna be loose, but they're better strike dogs, and we got other dogs that might run and bay that hog better than the actual strike dog. And then once that's completed, then we come in with a different type of dog, which is the catch dog. And I like that like breakup of these different dogs that do different aspects of the hunt. To
hmm
me, to me it's just like it's it's got more style. It's got there's more feel to it than just like running some rough ass dogs who just bite everything they come in contact with.
but that's cool, man.
Not to
That's
me.
cool. I
I
got
mean,
a rough dog.
I've done it through the years, and I didn't like it. I mean, like always, so I had rough dogs at one point because the natural progression, like I started out with looser type dogs that were like cow dogs, basically, that I hog hunted with. So they would bay pigs. I didn't have a bulldog, but when I got there, I could like talk the dogs into catching, then I'd catch the pig. Well, then we got pigs that started running more. So the natural, you know, the logical conclusion is, oh, I need dogs that are going to get rough as hell to catch more pigs. And I went that route for 3, 4 years. And then I got sick of it at one point because it was like, by the time I would get there, I mean, unless it was a trophy boar, these hogs were so chewed up. And, when I went in and grabbed them, they didn't even hardly fight me. You know, not now. I'm 51 now. But back then, like that's what I hunted for was I wanted to grab that pig and I wanted to fight, and it just got blank. I'm grabbing a pig that's half dead, and it just didn't do it for me. And then I moved back to loose dogs and kind of got that love and feeling back.
Hmm. Well, the whole deal on the progression of a hunter, it's like how many turkeys, how many different ways can you kill a turkey? I went through that whole phase. It's like when I first started turkey hunting, just the ability, the first turkey I ever shot was a Jake. And then it got to be, how can I do it this way? How can I do it that way? And then finally, it got to be how, flintlocks and 18th century gear and traditional calls and all of that sort of stuff. Deer hunting kind of took the same route, and the hounds have taken the same route for me too. So I don't know how many you go through those phases, and now it's one of those deals where you just want to share it with other people. I mean, that's the ultimate phase, according to the National Shooting Sports Foundation, is that mentoring phase where you show other people and you teach other people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fast approaching that phase where I just want to turn dogs loose and listen to them. I don't even, you know, come back tomorrow and pick them up. I don't even want to go into anything.
I'm
But I
I,
mean, it's the
I'm
same
kind of
thing.
getting to the phase where I don't want to be bothered. It's like I'm out here to hunt. I don't have time. I don't have time for your dumb questions.
I mean, I got it. I get as much joy as listening to a race now as I did ever with anything else.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Derek's
When
giving
you're
us,
when you're at when I'm out there on the ranch in New Mexico, and the land is so much different, and the oak brush is short, and you're standing there on this mesa, and the dogs have struck a track and they ran it across the mesa, and you're standing there on this rock ledge and you can hear the dogs running, at 800-900 yards, even with my bad hearing, and you're just standing there and you're looking at it, and it's like, wow, you can hear it. Then you see the bear cross or whatever you're chasing cross.
Yeah.
Just like on that lion, I saw that lion cross a gap in the oak brush, and it was just a glimpse. I was standing there, and it was like that lion just crossed right there, and then you saw the dogs come through and doing their job right behind it. You could just hear it all.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like I think it was me and you was talking about it. The old wolf hunters, like around here, they would just like turn like 12, 15 dogs loose and start a fire in the middle of the dirt road and just sit there and drink whiskey all night and listen to them run. Not like they never went to anything. It was just, to listen to them run. I'm getting pretty close to that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Hey,
hard to do. That's hard to do nowadays.
100%. This is a conversation starter right here. Check it out.
Want to,
What do you think, Ed?
want to. If I got to start with a dog that wants to do something. Like even if he's like a really good armadillo dog, a dog that has drive is slash want to slash learn.
Drive.
The dog's got to want to do something. If a dog wants to do something, then you can switch it from game to game. But if that dog just doesn't have, you know, that drive, you cannot put that in a dog. You got a dog that's showing you no drive. I mean, you can work with it for a bit, but at some point, you just got to cut your losses and move.
You get the conversation gets bogged down a lot with things like trailing ability, cold nose, locating ability, but a dog without drive, you'll never see any of that other stuff. You'll never ever see the the desire to locate game or to trail game. When guys, I get asked a lot, it's like, okay, what about cold nose? Cold nose is all dependent on that drive to track and trail that game. I can take this is no no baloney right here, okay? I can take my boxer, and I've seen her do it. She'll get down and sniff the bushes and different stuff where a bear is across the road, but she doesn't have that genetic
Yeah,
desire to follow and trail and stick with it. She'll stay in a good race for a couple 100 yards, but then she's like, okay, I'm done. But a hound that's got that drive and that genetic makeup to do that, that's what that's the difference between a cold nose and a hot nosed dog. You can take any Labrador, he can smell that bear track. He'll go over there and piss on the bushes and on a lion scrape or whatever. But his desire to track that down and locate it and put it in a tree and catch it is the difference between every dog smells basically
yeah.
the same amount.
I think you're totally right. Like, so I never really thought of it in that sense, but I totally agree with you. So, like, me and my sister work together. She's got a little Chihuahua that she brings to work. In the morning, the Chihuahua goes into a cage right outside the bay door where she works. So today, so I'm getting ready to go to work at 7 this morning, and I go out to my truck, and I've got a couple puppies running around here. While I pick up my favorite puppy and kind of pet on it and talk to her for a little bit, and then I throw her down and drive off. That's at 7 o'clock this morning. We finish with our work at about 2 o'clock this afternoon. So my sister brings the Chihuahua from her cage and throws her in the office with us. She runs over to me and jumps up in my lap. So we're talking from 7 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon. And this dog immediately shows interest. She can smell that puppy on my hands and my shirt sleeve from 7 this morning.
Mm-hmm.
So I totally agree with you that dogs have dogs have that nose where they can physically pick up that smell. It's they got it, but they got to have that, and they got to have that drive that says, "I'm gonna go catch this thing."
You bet. Yeah. That's what Vane Johnson and I had a long discussion about this is actually in the podcast, about cold nosed dogs. And I even when I was in police canine, that line of work, a bloodhound has the ability they've got the longest nasal plane, they've got the most turbinates, um, the things that, chambers that process scent and all that stuff. They've got all that. But if they don't have the desire to track it, it doesn't matter how much ability they have to detect odor or scent. If they don't have the drive to go find it, I mean, you're better off with a shepherd or a bulldog or something that wants to track and
Yeah.
follow that trail.
So yeah, we're agreeing. I mean that it, to me at least, drive is number one.
Yep,
You cannot put drive in a dog,
100%.
and you got to have brains. I mean, a dog has to have enough brains to know what to do with that scent.
Yeah.
And yeah, Roy, we are slow readers. We're doing multiple things.
What'd you say, Ed?
Or earlier, Roy said we were slow readers.
Yeah, we are. I just want to be a thorough reader, Roy. I
Yeah,
could
that's what.
read I could read your comment half-assed and give you a half-assed answer.
Yeah, I mean, if
Part
my,
of
I mean,
part of my problem is, I'll tell you what part of my problem is not being slow reader. It's vanity. Vanity.
yeah, I'm not putting my glasses on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you know, for the most part, loose dogs that I've had, and it's aggravating at times, and it's kind of one of the deal with loose dogs. Sometimes they will bay a 20-pound pig, and you walk a mile and a half to get a 20-pound pig. But to me, it's a fair trade-off. I don't mind that. I don't want my dogs laying a tooth on any pig. I don't care if it just come out and it's 2 pounds. Bay that thing.
There you go. Thanks for the support, Roy. I'm gonna shut this thing off. Now I might be able to hear something as well.
Yeah, I mean, most good cur dogs, are going to run with their head up in wind, and that's the advantage of the. I mean, a lot of good hounds will do that too. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty, Michael. That's pretty much a must do in hog hunting, or from my novice understanding, bear hunting. That's how they make up time.
Well, that's an interesting thing. Who was that? Adam? No,
Michael Smith.
Michael Smith. That's one of the things that we asked Van Johnson, and Shorty's the one that asked him. If you haven't listened to that podcast on Monday, I mean, Van Johnson's been the guy's just a wealth of knowledge. Not to mention that he's just a great guy. But he's been in hounds for 70 years. He's worked as a USDA wildlife specialist and caught problem bears and lions and things like that. So he's working in that aspect of it. He's a professional outfitter. He's been breeding dogs. But Shorty asked him, he's like, "Can a cold nosed dog trail fast?" And he didn't even hesitate. And he's like, "Absolutely,
I
they
have
can."
I have Van Johnson blood in my yard.
Do you really?
Yeah.
That's cool. Yep. So I mean, that picking the head up thing is all a part of. Have you got a dog that just likes to track, and that's their, you know,
That's their,
endorphin dump,
yeah.
or have they got that drive to want to look at it? I ask all my dogs. It's funny. I'll be standing there when they come back in, and if they get outran, which happens a lot, I'll always be joking around at the tailgate, and I'll be like, "Did you see him? Did you look at him?" That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that dog that wants to look at him face to face, and
Yeah, but I
then
think it's a
go
common
from there.
misconception that hogs won't drift a track or wind a track. I mean, if you're running an animal and they cut a hard ride on you, that dog does not need to follow step for step. If a dog tries to follow a hog step for step, he's probably never going to catch up to it. But so he catches it on the turns, where if the wind is right, he can take the shortcut, the hypotenuse to that pig. That's where a smart dog gains ground is from wind.
Did you see this comment from anecdote of a houndsman?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really agree with that. I mean, you can try. I mean, if you want to bang your head against that wall, go ahead. I'm not going to bang my head. I mean, I've banged my head before. There's a couple dogs out there that I'm banging my head right now, but I know I shouldn't be. But no, I mean, I don't agree with that.
I I think there are dogs that can be encouraged through repetition. Um, but the flip side of that is I'm not looking at hunting dog. I'm not willing to put my time into a dog that has to be encouraged at that level. I want those dogs that are genetically wired to be like that from birth.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, there's enough of them out there. I mean, I want that dog that pup that my problem is that when I turn them loose, they want to run a deer with all they got, dig an armadillo with all they got, chase a coon with all they got, and maybe if we get to a pig, run it with all they got. You can fix that. And that's a drive. But I don't think you can put drive in a dog. I mean, it's like a drug addict. Drug addict, you can't change a drug addict. He has to change himself, and it rarely happens. And I think it's the same thing with a dog.
yeah,
Dog's got drive or he doesn't have drive. You can probably make a decent dog through repetition, but
it's like when you from the coon hunter part of it, you know, um, pull up to the woods, get your dog out of the box. I want a dog that goes hunting.
yeah,
I'm not gonna try to discipline a dog or encourage a dog into going hunting because more than likely all I'm doing is training that dog to hide from me. And Garmin revealed a lot of that when
yeah.
we started having GPS tracks and we could see how far they were. Um, so yeah, I'm not looking for that style of dog that I've got to encourage to have drive. Man, they either got it or they don't. I want to touch on this one real quick from Stefan Kitka. Have you ever read how to win friends and influence people? Who
No,
wrote that book?
I
Who
don't
wrote
really.
that book?
I don't want
Oh,
any friends, and I don't
darn it!
want to influence anybody.
Yes, too bad. Too bad. Even the most introverted person influences about 10 to 20,000 people in their life, Ed. So you're out of luck, buddy.
Well, I mean, I might, but it's not my goal.
But so Carnegie wrote in that book, and this is a great example of exactly what Blackbeard's saying. He said he was talking about a reporter that went over to England. She worked for the New York Times, and this is back in the 1920s. Went over to England and she met the leader from the House of Lords and the House of Commons. She said, when I met with the first man, We had dinner and conversation. I felt like I'd met the most important person in the world. She said after the second night, I met with the uh, leader from the House of Commons, and after dinner and drinks and conversation, I felt like I was the most important person in the world. That type of person is a person that builds influence in people.
Yeah.
There's a valuable life lesson there, and Van Johnson evidently has read the book or just picked it up naturally. But
Yeah, it's probably just natural. He's probably I've never met him, but I would imagine from what you're telling me, he's probably a modest guy.
I met him for the first time face to face. He pulled in. Where were we at? We were on Shorty and I were on the road somewhere. Huh. Oh, from the United Houndsmen of Colorado banquet, coming back, and Van had contacted us and said, "Hey," or Shorty, and said, "Hey, you care if I, stay overnight? I got my camper and stay overnight on the ranch." And he just pulled in. We got there. It was late at night. First time I ever met the man, and I've had him on the podcast before, but I walked over to his camper. He acted like he knew me all his life. Most comfortable guy I've ever met. And this guy's a daggone legend. He really is.
Yeah, I mean, a few years back, I had a great opportunity to spend the better part of a day with Floyd Boudreaux, famous bulldog guy, famous. He was the most modest man, one of the most modest men I've ever met. Like he would ask you what you thought. Like he would say something and say, "Well, what do you think?" You know, and he was probably 30 years my senior. He called me sir. Super humble, super humble, and that's why I always say like most of the guys that I've met who I would truly throw the moniker of Dogman to were all very humble guys. I've never met what I would consider a dogman who was a braggart.
Me either. And I used to be the braggart, and times I still can be, but every person I admire is a humble individual.
Yeah.
That you got the Whitakers. Josh and Jason catch as much game in the dirt as anybody I've ever met. They're the hardest hunting guys I've ever met. Talented, but they treat me like, they treat me with a lot of respect and different things. And I'm just like, wow, I can't hold a candle to the adventures that you guys have had because they've made it a purpose in their life.
Mm-hmm.
See that comment on the screen right there? What's your thoughts on that? Some dogs hunt for themselves, some for their masters.
Yeah, I
Chuck,
mean,
I want to ask Chuck real quick, which one do you prefer? While you're answering, we'll talk about that comment.
I know Chuck. He lives right here by the house. I can imagine what he's going to tell you, but uh, for the most part, and there's variances in it, but for the most part, I always say that a hound hunts for himself and a cur hunts for you. That's my take on it.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that there's a difference there? Is it genetics?
Well, I mean, everything comes down to genetics. I don't really know. I don't know the why to that, but that seems to be what I've observed.
I'm curious which which one you like, Chuck. The one that hunt for themselves or for their some for their masters? Because I've met people in both crowds. Some people are just like, I'm just taxi. When I get there, I don't want to see you again. Go do your own thing. And then you've got the other side of that too.
I know Chuck, and I've hunted with Chuck. Coon hunted with him. He's going to say that he likes to dog hunt for himself.
Yeah.
Uh,
He likes a dog that hunts for himself.
that's what I would guess. Yeah.
Yeah. I
To me,
kind of enjoy
to me
I
that
kind of
shows
enjoy
to me
that
that
too.
shows breeding.
Shows what?
To me, that shows breeding with intent.
Mm-hmm. It can be frustrating, like Tough, my Yog, Cajun, Diablo, all the plots. I mean, plots are just um, they're very great. The plots I have are very game driven.
Yeah.
The blue ticks have been a little more. They're a little softer, and they pay a little more attention to what you want and how you want it done. But it's a nice mix because the plot the I keep my sanity because I'm a control freak, So when I yell at a dog, I want him to come back to me when I recall him, and it's a lot longer road to get there. But there is something to a dog that's just like, just get me to the woods, turn me loose, boss, and I'll make you famous. I love a dog like that,
Oh
even though
yeah.
it's frustrating.
That's something that I've had to like battle with. Not anymore, but like when I first started long range dogs, was like that loss of control.
Mm-hmm.
You have to kind of like give yourself to it. Like,
Yep.
yeah, this dog's 1.25 miles from me, and I can't yell that loud. I can't change that dog's mind. And it's kind of, to me, like that long range dog is kind of like a release of that control. And it took me a long time to get comfortable with that. Because, before that, I was running a number of different styles, rough and loose, but they were closer to me. So I felt that I had more control over that dog's actions.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I had to do, and you hunted with me in the Gila last year, and you saw how my dogs were kind of caught in the middle there, whether to really range out and free cast. It's because I put too much handle on them, you know, too much. So for the last year, I've really had to turn loose. I keep the Garmin in the holster, and if they're running a track, unless I've got 100, why do I care? I mean, I turn them loose for a reason, right? So just let them roll
Yeah.
and see what happens. And if it didn't go your way, make the corrections you need to make, and then, but just don't be too crazy about the whole control aspect of it. And the thing of it is, I know that, but it's just like, well, what if they're doing something wrong? What if they're going to screw up somebody else's hunt? And when you're hunting by yourself, you don't have to worry about all that.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of look at dogs kind of like racehorses. Like, so I just want to know, I just want to get that dog where I can kind of get a saddle on it, then get on its back and just be out of control. So I don't go for a whole lot of handle because handle to me, putting a handle on a dog does limit range. But I think you can like, so if I get a dog that's going good and is older, then I'll start to put a little bit of handle on them on the backside,
Right.
and it doesn't seem to affect range at that point. But if you start with a puppy
You
and get
bet.
them totally focused on you and get a hard come and get all this handle on a puppy, then it's hard to get that puppy to go, well, I'm going to go a mile and a half away from this guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you can do that on the backside.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't really, Valley's question here, I don't really think so. Never really thought about it very much. He says, do you think a dog that enjoys the catch more than tracking will be more accurate than one that likes the track more? I
I
don't
think
really.
I think some dogs just like,
This is pointing back to drive. So,
mm-hmm.
so you could replace a dog that likes to catch more with, do you think a dog that has a lot of drive will be more accurate than one that likes the track more? A dog that wants to catch has a lot of drive. It could be. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. There's dogs that have a lot of drive and have a really good nose but don't have track sense. And then you'll have dogs that have a lot of track sense that know what to do with that smell that's in their nose.
Well, I've seen a lot of highly driven dogs in the coon hunting world um, that want to get past the track so much to the tree that they're slick treers, and a lot
Yeah.
of that's encouraged. I think that if you're hunting a line of dogs that are the treeing genetic is stronger than the tracking genetic. And I'd be interested to see what Donnie Huber says about this because Donnie's been hunting these Walker dogs for a long time. But a dog that has got too much tree instinct and bred for that over the tracking instinct, and you don't have that balance, I think that can really affect your accuracy. And I think that dog is, I don't know if it's treeing instinct or if it's the, running to catch that we all talk about so much.
That's kind of what I'm talking about with track sense. So like a dog can, in the hog hunting world, the last 5, 6 years, speed has become a big uh, adjective. Like how fast is that dog? Well, a dog can only accurately run as fast as his brain can interpret the track.
Exactly.
I've I've seen a lot of dogs that had a lot of drive, a lot of nose, a lot of speed, but their speed outran their nose. So that hog would make a hard turn, which they're known for doing. I mean, when we're looking at a Garmin and we see three right hand or left hand turns, it's like, oh, well, we're getting ready to bay. So you'll get them high speed, high drive dogs that won't catch that turn, and they're
Mm-hmm.
so focused on the run that they overrun the track. And then you'll have a little bit slower dog with some more track sense that's running at a speed equivalent to his nose, and he'll pick up that turn. Or like some really fast dogs won't sometimes.
Yeah. Yep. What did Roy say? Finding love in the process.
I think he was just talking about
Yeah.
how I was saying I like to catch pigs with style.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
think could be wrong.
Oh, Caleb. Okay.
Free casting skunks.
Yeah. Caleb's a skunk catching machine.
I've got a
Well,
couple.
actually, his dog is, but it's like a guy told me from Wisconsin, Corey Siegler with um rough cut. I was talking to him. I asked him, I was like, "How do you run your bear dogs on coyotes and bear?" Because if I try to do both, all I get seems like I spend way too much time on coyote rigs. And he just laughed. And he's like, "Coyote's a good race too."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Jeremy, that's pretty much why I got out of rough dogs because I found myself too often wanting to go hog hunting but couldn't because I had a kennel full of dogs that couldn't go.
Yeah. Uh, Um, I'll comment on that real quick, Jeremy. Is I think for some reason, and I'm not a hog hunter. I like to hog hunt. I've got dogs that'll catch hogs, but I mine will catch. But it seems like they know which ones they can catch and which ones they need to back off of. Like we've caught big bar hogs that are aggressive, and mine back off. But if they think they can get away with bullying one, then yeah, we're gonna
It's
catch that
over.
hog.
Yeah, I mean, that's not really my style, but yeah, I've run a lot of Kimmers.
I've ran some Kimmer blood too,
Talked
but
about
not on hogs.
yeah, I don't anymore, but I used to have a fair amount of Kimmer yard dogs that were squirrel dogs. But I've
Mm-hmm.
also had plenty of Kimmers that were hog dogs. I talked about that one earlier. I got from Gary Gillum here in Tahlequah, and I'm not sure if that was a Kimmer. That may have been OMCBA. I'm not sure.
The
Yeah, I mean
pigs are
that's
sitting on the hilltops. Pigs can swim.
yeah, but when you get flooding, it concentrates them.
Yeah.
Like it's dangerous. It's super dangerous to hunt in like flooding conditions, but that's one of the best conditions where you know where they're going to be at. But it is dangerous.
Yep. We've got 76 people in here watching, and we got about 10 people in the conversation. If you haven't sounded off yet, let's just do a little roll call. I'd like to know where everybody's from, what you hunt. Tell us a couple things about yourself. I'd like
Yeah,
I'd like to know who's looking at us.
yeah, we're having a hard time keeping up.
Who's
But
tough enough? Who's tough enough to stay in here and listen to me and Ed ramble on?
yeah, Randy, we run. My hunting buddy Tanner runs silent curs, and I typically run open hounds, so
He just
semi
does
open.
that to aggravate you.
Well, no, I do that to aggravate him.
Oh, I
But I
got you.
run I run semi. A lot of my hounds are usually pretty darn silent. But yeah, we do that. He doesn't like it, but I do. What question does Trump have for us here?
I don't know. His ears bleeding. Oh, there you go. Trashy dogs make a good dog too. I
Richard catches a
I
bunch of hogs and has been doing it for a long time.
yeah yeah, and I think the whole idea of I take dogs and I run hawk. My dogs run coon, bobcat, lions, and bear, and hogs. If you don't let them have a little bit of trashiness in them, basically I just break them off the ungulates and stuff like that. So
Sometimes,
Jacob Loy, let's
sometimes I'm
give Jacob
trashy.
Loy some love here.
Hit him. I
It's
don't see hit him.
disappearing on me. It's
Throw it up
actually
there.
giving us some love. We're happy to have you, Jacob. So, what do you like, Jacob? I want to ask you a question. What do you like about Raw Dog, and why what is it about our show that you as a coon hunter, why do you like that? So there's a question. We're trying our best to keep up with you guys.
It's hard.
Yep. We got George Johnson from North Mississippi, Devin Looney from Bantam, Texas. He runs Kimmers. Michael Smith, Southeast Texas. Heck yeah, man. Possum and turtle dogs. Every now and then they trash on hogs. That's my kind of dog right there.
We were talking with once again to get back to the Clue Anderson podcast me and Tanner did. He also raises and has raised for a long time plot dogs, and we were talking about the history of plot dogs. And mountain curs came up in there because mountain curs and plots kind of originated in the same general area. There's some crossover there.
You better believe it. I used to joke all the time. It's like my plot's got more original mountain cur than your mountain cur does.
Yeah, but I like the Kimmers over the originals just because they have a little bit more size and they seem to be a little more big game driven. And they're all the mountain curs I've had, all both strands were a little bit mouthy, but the Kimmer seemed to be a little bit more quiet.
I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna let you answer this question. This is more in your bailiwick. I'm gonna step away for just a minute.
Okay. Well, I mean the question is how many dogs are you putting on him? Kind of logic on those hard to catch pigs. Kind of logic would tell you throw more dogs down, but I found with bigger hogs that are harder to catch, usually you have better luck with dropping the number of dogs because it all comes down to that pig is you're putting that pig in a situation of fight or flight. So if you got too many dogs, he thinks he can't win, so he's going to go into flight mode. So what you want to try to do to bay a hog is get him into fight mode where he thinks he can win. So my suggestion would be trying one dog or two dogs, loose type dogs, and I would bet you that he would bay up because he thinks he can win. What I always say is, if I'm in a bar and one dude wants to fight me, I'm liable to walk outside with him and fight. But if three dudes want to fight me, I know I can't win that. I didn't used to know I couldn't win that, but I now I know I can't win that, so I'm probably going to go into flight mode. So back the number of dogs off and try to get some loose dogs, and I bet you bay him up.
Yep. I remember the first real dog I got too. Commenting on Brent Hahn's deal here. I wanted to coon hunt, but I didn't know how to coon hunt until I got a dog named Rock Creek Charlie Pride, and he was a direct son out of Hearn's Red Eagle Dick. He was a
Was he?
ticked up Walker dog,
I was going to ask you if he
and
was black.
huh?
I was going to ask you if he was black.
Yeah, no, he
Charlie
was.
Pride.
Yeah, nope. He was. His name was Charlie, and he was a ticked up Walker dog, and we'd been beating around, and I still remember the first night that he treed a coon. We were standing there, as clear frosty night. He struck in there and ran this coon, and it was running west to east. I mean, that's how well I remember this. He runs down this creek, and a buddy of mine's dog chimed in there and went with him, and boom, he came up treed, and we kind of looked at each other, kind of scared. It's like, what are they doing? Yeah, and went in there and he had a coon treed.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think them early dogs just comes down. I mean, me and Tanner talked about this years ago, and I think it rings true for most people that hunt. Like them early dogs hold a high spot, in your head. And at least for me and Tanner, because we hashed it out a lot, we spent so much time with that dog. Like you can't replace that like time that you spend with a dog. Like that, a dog is naturally a dog more than any other animal on the planet Earth has learned through evolution. They can tell when we're in a bad mood, when we're in a good mood, from our facial expressions and how we carry ourselves. And giving that dog more time around you, that's how they know what you want. So like we were talking earlier about, dogs that are dual purpose or triple purpose. That comes from, you know, you can't pull that dog out of a kennel one time every week or one time every 2 weeks and expect them to understand what you're after. But if you're pulling them out 3 or 4 times a week and hunting them or just spending time with them, that's when they get that bond with you where they can tell what you're after.
Well, if I can add a little bit to that, Tough is the first Yog Terrier I had another one, but he didn't make it very long before he met his demise in the driveway. But people are always like, I've never seen a Yog that um I always thought they were crazy. That's what I always get. It's like, man, I'd like to have one, but they're too crazy.
Well, you can replace crazy with high drive.
Yeah.
They're high drive
And
dogs.
they need a job. And I mean, he is literally, I sent a message to the lady I got him from because she likes keeping up with him and stuff. But I said, sent a picture of him in the back seat as like another 4,000 mile trip under his belt. That dog is in the truck with me all the time. If you keep him in I don't care what dog you've got. If you keep him in a rabbit hutch and you pull him out on the weekends and that's the only time, you're going to have crazy dogs.
Yeah.
But I mean, when I'm on the road, he sleeps right there in the bed. He doesn't take up any space. I don't care. I was never a dog in the bed guy, but that little sucker, he knows it. I mean, he snuggles right up next to me and stuff,
I
and
mean,
when I tell him to do something, he gets her done.
you can probably look at him and he knows what you're thinking.
Oh yeah,
And that comes from time spent with the dog.
There is no replacement for it. No replacement for it. Now I'm not going to bring my, you know, I'm not going to bring Indy or Cajun in and let them sleep on the bed with me. They haven't really earned it, I guess.
And I'm not a big dog in the house
I'm
kind
not
of guy.
either. It's a. My wife laughs at me all the time. She's like, "I can't believe you're letting that dog sleep in your bed." And
Bulldogs, I don't have dogs in the house, but bulldogs can be with a bulldog. I would almost say it's an advantage
I agree. Our
to have.
bulldog sleeps, and my wife and I are sleep divorced because I snore so much.
You guys sleep
You
in
know,
separate beds.
oh yeah, since the kids are gone, it's the
Oh my,
greatest move we ever made,
oh
man.
my goodness.
I'm telling you, it's a great. Our marriage is better. We enjoy being around each other. We sleep better, uh, you know, and stuff like that. But yeah, I sleep in a different room because I
Chris, you're
just,
old.
no doubt, you're not lying. You're not lying. So her bulldog sleeps in her bed, and Tough sleeps in my bed.
Yeah,
Yep.
Kenzie, I would 100% definitely. There's a difference. You'll I've seen it a lot in the hound world that I've.
That's Chuck Reynolds, by the way. I know he messaged me last time. Chuck Reynolds is a bear hunter from Virginia. Catches a lot of bear every year. Runs some good dogs. So, Kenzie, I'd like to hear your opinion if you got time to type it in on what your opinion is on the difference.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of dogs that their joy is in the running part of it. So like with running hounds, it's become popular to breed running hounds into hog dogs, and I've got one out there. I love him, but he's not eat up with the running. A bunch of them are eat up with the running, and once you bay, they're like, I don't want to do this. I want to go find something else to run.
I'll tell you the amazing thing about running dogs, and I like we'd exercise Shorty's dogs one day, we'd exercise my dogs a different day on the alternate days. But watching those running dogs that he has, they move different, man. Everything they do is more efficient. Um,
Mechanically, like totally mechanically, they run in a different way than
oh my gosh, it's like
other
they
dogs run.
float. It's effortless. You can put 30 miles. We would put 30 miles on those dogs. Reset the Garmins in the morning, take them out on a big loop. We may only travel 18 miles, but just the way they hunt and surrounding us and stuff, and it was just effortless. The
Oh,
genetics there are crazy.
but I mean, just the mechanics of it, like a running dog. Like I had a good one here around the house that was just a yard dog for years, and I loved her. But I would watch her run, and she ran like a racehorse. So if you filmed her running, there would be moments in her run where she had 0 feet touching the ground, and it's more.
Watching my blue tick hounds move compared to the running dogs, it's like they've got to put more effort just into movement.
Yeah, I was trying to put it into words. I can't really put it into words. I would just say they run like a horse runs.
Yeah.
Jeff, I've never had a crappie dog. We don't call them white perch.
Yeah.
What do y'all call them?
We call them crappie.
Do you?
Yeah.
I think white perch is a little bit further south than I'm at.
Yeah. Down Louisiana, white perch or sacule, bags of milk. All
I've
right.
never heard that.
Chuck Chuck answered a dog that just I'm gonna put it up.
Well, that's his original question.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I got it. Chuck Reynolds. Dog that
No.
wants to run will do just that. Run the game. Will actually stop on its own, and the dog will mill around and let the animal rest and take off again.
Yeah, I mean you'll see that with running dogs. I mean to a degree.
Yeah.
I thought you
Well,
was talking.
his original statement was, "What's the difference between a dog that just likes to run and a dog that runs to catch?"
Yeah,
Yeah, I think a dog that just likes to run, and Shorty will tell you that he doesn't have a bear dog in his yard. Um, they'll follow one, but they'll follow him all day. You know what I mean? The bear's not going to outrun them; they'll just follow him, but they're not going to stop it.
they
They're not going
won't.
to put the brakes on one.
They won't.
Mm-mm. No. Hmm.
I'll give you that one because I don't really. I
One.
don't. I don't.
I
Yeah, I
don't
don't
know.
really. I don't really buy dogs from.
I guess it's one of those deals that
You can have an off. You can have an off
yeah, sure. I mean,
puppy.
going hunting with a dog one time and making a judgment is the worst thing you can do. And trying to make an opinion on a whole bloodline based on one experience is just ignorant.
Yeah.
Um, when you but if you go hunt with a guy and take Wade Hollerman and Hunter Meekum for example, I'd heard about the Meekum dogs and Wade's got his own contribution that he's made that line too. But when I bear hunted with them last year, I just describe it as there weren't any cheerleaders on the box.
Yeah.
There were no cheerleaders. And when you take uh, 5, 6 hounds and you see 12 or 13 hounds run consistently, and there aren't any cheerleaders on the box in the box, then you're looking at something good.
Yeah. I want some of them
So
puppies.
yeah. So when you but I think there's a lot of hype out there, but I also think it goes back to a comment earlier where everybody's got a different opinion of what a dog is. So if you like a style of dog and you do your due diligence and you find that style of dog, it's probably going to, everyone out of that genetic makeup or a lot of them out of that genetic line are going to suit you.
Yeah. I mean, if I found a guy that I liked his dogs and I got a pup and it didn't match up to that bar I'd set, I would probably try again because I understand that you know
Yeah, for sure. I was being
breeding. Yeah,
total
breeding's
smart ass when I said one.
breeding's not 100%, but if the second one, you know, I'd probably I'd probably drop it there.
Yeah.
Chuck Allen, yeah, I was right. He wants dogs that hunt for
Yep.
themselves.
Yep.
Valley agrees with us. Chuck Coon hunts. Used to competition hunt. He doesn't much anymore, but he kind of bucks the system and he runs crossed up dogs with some running dog in him.
Let's put this one up from Cam Curtis. I think this is an interesting. So I guess,
It's pretty tough to do.
yeah,
Uh, I'm not one of the guys who believes that range is bred into dogs. I think it's uh, nurture, not nature. But with that said, it's I can take a crossed up mutt that doesn't even come from hunting bloodlines and get it to go deep easier than I can get a dog that's already going deep to dial it back and come close.
really, you think
Yeah,
so?
I think so. From my experience, yeah.
I don't think you can put hunt in one. I don't think you can put that drive. I don't. It goes back to that drive thing.
Well, I consider hunt and drive a little bit different. Like I've done it a bunch. Like just take some side of the road dog and start them right and hunt them with long range dogs and they'll go long.
Mm-hmm.
Once I get a dog that's going as deep as it needs to go, I've had a really hard time dialing that back.
Right.
And that's the thing that me and Tanner have. So, me and Tanner have been hunting together for shit, probably going on 10 years. So so a long time ago, we wanted dogs that they went as far as they had to go. I mean,
I think that's the key right there.
there's been, 10 years ago when we started hunting together, it didn't happen every time, but it happened every once in a while that we would cast dogs and they would go 3 miles. There wasn't as many pigs around at that point, so we wanted a dog that would do that. Now we're kind of got to the point where we don't want dogs that go that far because it's a huge headache.
Right.
That's how you meet game wardens and get guns pointed in your face. So we kind of want dogs that stay. I would say typically we want dogs that stay 1,200 yards, half mile.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a really hard time with that. Like a dog that will go a half mile is comfortable going 2.5 miles. So you can,
I'm curious what a hound cat cross is. That might be part of your. I'm not sure.
just
I think.
a hound Catahoula cross.
Oh, Catahoula cross. Okay,
Yeah, I mean
cat cross.
they just call them cats for
See, I'm
short.
showing my ignorance right there.
Uh, you can definitely get out your chain and get really rough on that dog, but the problem is you usually take most of the hunt at them. I could take a dog that goes 2 miles and turn it into a walk hunt dog. That's not what Cam wants, probably. He's wanting a dog that will stay a half mile or a mile.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hard thing to do. You
Yeah.
can take it all out or none of it out, but it's hard to take half of it out.
When I look at that question and I think about it, I've got to ask questions like, what's your game density in the area you're hunting? If you're hunting someplace where there's a lot of game that you're targeting, and you've got a dog that's just running past it, then I think you got a problem, and you need to put some brakes on that and make them focus on stuff that's a
Yeah,
little bit closer.
definitely.
But if you're hunting in an area that doesn't have a lot of game, we invest a lot of money in tracking equipment, and you go out hunting for the day. You know what you got. Just plan on. If I'm hunting in an area that's low density, then I'm there to catch game, and if they got to go that far to do it, then I'm just gonna have to accept it and roll with it.
That's what I would tell. Piggybacking off you, that's what I would tell Cam is do a bit of your homework. Try to turn that dog loose in an area where you know it's not going to have to go that far to strike whatever it is that he hunts. And then watch that dog. If that dog is still blowing out of the country and you're fairly confident it's running past desired game, then you kind of got a problem, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I'm curious. Chris Watson. He switched from YouTube to Facebook, trying to confuse us again. He's going to be giving us Samuel Clemens quotes here in a minute. Um,
I
I'm
mean, it's,
curious, Chris. Um, out there in the does the country dictate that? Does 300 yards in Arizona isn't a spit in the wind hardly? So I'm just
it
curious.
all, yeah, it depends on the dog. So I hunted off mules for a long time. And when I was hunting off mules, I didn't want a dog that went 2.5 miles because that was painful.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So, it just goes back to, you know, yeah, when we hunted off mules, we wanted dogs that went about 300. We could get to them fairly fast. And for the most part, when I was hunting off mules, I was in that rough dog category. So that dictated range because I didn't want a dog at a mile caught and it takes me 45 minutes to get there. They're going to be dead. So, I mean, I mean, people lay this like, it's not a good dog unless it goes 2 miles. I totally disagree with that. I mean, I've had really good hog dogs that went 300 yards and that was their range.
Mm-hmm.
Don't assume just because the dog gets out of the country that it's a good dog. Just a different way of doing it.
I've seen that a lot in coonhounds.
I
You
mean,
know,
they
the
want
comp.
dogs that blow the country out.
If a dog is by himself, you don't have to worry about who's going to get first tree. You know,
Yeah.
you're going to get your 100 or 125 on that scorecard every time. You know, as far as Chris's comments go, um, I've hunted in northern Arizona and also the desert area of the forested stuff. To me, 1,000 isn't out of pocket for
I mean,
me.
half a mile is like 1250, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So, I mean, you're under half mile.
yeah. For me, that's not too far. But it really boils down to this: I'm not feeding Chris Watson's dogs, and he's not feeding my dogs.
Yeah.
So if he
He
likes
can get
that,
whatever he wants out of
then
them.
he's getting what he wants out of them.
Yeah. Exactly. And
Yep.
that's a big thing that I've seen. I mean, I hunted before social media, and before social media, nobody else's opinion mattered, you know. And I think now you get a bunch of people that hunt for social media, and I'm not a big fan.
Yeah. Now my buddies up in Montana, they didn't want dogs that were wide ranging like that because of the wolf problem.
Yeah.
So they didn't want to get dogs chewed up by wolves. But again, it was one of those deals like I talked to Larry Anderson a lot about this. It's like, when I turn a dog loose, every time you turn a dog loose, you're running a risk. It
Car.
could be a car. I've lost dogs to the road before. I've lost dogs to had dogs shot at by landowners here in Indiana. There's always a risk involved. Brush piles. I dug my jazz female out of a field tile one time. Um, so, and once that dog starts a track, you can't dictate it anyway. I mean, once they get over 300 yards away from you on a good track, are you going to recall them? You know,
Yeah.
I don't
That's what I
know.
was. That's what I was saying earlier with the thing that I had a problem with was which was the turning loose of control. And to me, I mean, I wouldn't really say I'm a control freak, but it was a big deal for me. And
Yeah,
I think I'm better for it. Like now, I can turn dogs loose, and I kind of have it in the back of my mind. Yeah, some crackhead might shoot them. They might get run over by a truck on the highway. You know, and it's like,
right.
well, that's part of it.
They could jump over. They could hang themselves
Yeah,
on a tie out. I mean, you
all
just
kinds of
gotta.
stuff that could happen.
Yeah, yeah. The possibilities are endless. I like this. I like this comment I put up. Worst I ever had was a Ridgeback Pit Dane mix that I got for free, and we turned him loose, and he went 14 miles.
14 miles. I've, I don't
Heck
think
yeah, that's a
I've
long
never had a
range
dog.
dog.
I've never had a dog cast 14 miles.
That's a free casting machine right there. I don't think he liked you very well, Matt. He was trying to
Or
put a lot of distance between you and him.
Bigfoot might have been chasing him.
Yeah. Yep.
J.R. Bowden, he's going up to Wisconsin to bear hunt next month. I'm jealous.
Man, I'm telling you, those guys in these states that have that have got their um, Bears training season. I'm trying to read and talk, and I can't do both.
It's tough.
But these guys that got these bear training seasons in right now, they are just making me jealous. Watching them out there running those dogs and just getting after it.
And here in Oklahoma, we don't even have that. We don't have anything on bear.
Yeah. Yeah. I left everything out in New Mexico except for Indy and Tough.
Really, Chris,
Do what?
I'm gonna let you take this one, and I'm gonna go take a bathroom break.
All right. You think nose or speed is more important on hogs in Georgia? I would go for speed on that, AJ, just because depending on where you're at in Georgia, but I mean I've hunted down there a fair bit, coon hunted and hog hunted, and I've never seen a shortage of pigs. So um, again, it goes back to that ability for a dog to want to chase the game you're targeting. In this case, it's hogs. So nose or speed goes back to that drive issue we talked about earlier. And that's what I'm looking for. Um, my Labrador is going to smell a hog, may not have the instincts to chase it, may not have the discipline to put in the work to track it, but they can smell it. So I'm going to go for drive, but I think drive dictates nose and speed. Let's see what else we got here. Ralph, I'm going to put your comment up and answer your question real quick. Are we asking if we prefer cast dogs or track dogs? Um, it kind of went that way, but we weren't focusing on that for this podcast. It just came up in the comments. But which one do you prefer? Do you prefer a cast dog or a track dog? I've hunted with both. I've hunted with rig dogs that take the track from the truck. I'm more of a cast dog type guy. That I like turning dogs loose and letting them tell me where I'm going for the day. Um, Matt, I got follow up here. Matt's responding to the 14. Let Ed get seated back in here.
Oh,
Matt's
you don't?
responding to the 14-mile pit
Yeah.
Dane hound cross, whatever. We're
Did
never
you
able to
breed that
break.
dog?
We're never able to break him from going so far, and he'd constantly get picked up, all cut up every time. But we were never able to stop him from going so far, even when we tried using a shock collar.
Yeah, I hope
Mm,
you bred. I hope you bred that dog.
yeah,
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 from his breeding, I'm not real surprised that he was cut up a bunch.
right. Yeah, for sure.
But he had drive, right?
He definitely had the drive to go. Well, I'll tell you what. We've got we got 76 people in here. That's good, man. You're hunting all over South Texas and running hogs. I'm glad you're catching some.
Richard's been
Ah,
doing.
use running walker or running walker cross dogs. Some bark on trail, some don't. That's interesting to me right there. I'm curious what kind of style those running walkers have on hogs. Um, are they loose bay dogs? Are they catch dogs? I know some guys that hunt the coast of South Carolina with running stock on bear, and they really like them.
Yeah, I doubt they're rough.
Yep, yep,
Richard, I said it earlier, but Richard's been doing it for a long time and had some really good old fashioned mentors from down in that country, and I guarantee he's doing it right.
yeah. There's a rich, rich history of dog men from South Texas.
Yeah.
Yep,
Florida curs.
we did a podcast. Shorty and I did it with Travis Land, and he was talking about the Florida cur. That was an interesting podcast.
Yeah, I've never messed with them. I think some people call them cracker curs.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I've never really messed with them. I think they tend tend to be pretty rough. If I'm wrong, correct me.
Yeah. Yeah, we've already talked about the turtle guy. Michael, possums are good eating, man. You
God,
need a
those
dog that retrieves them to the kitchen for you.
and cleans them.
Did I ever tell you about the story with Tough? Tough will go out on his security checks and he'll retrieve everything to the porch.
Bring
Carries
it
it
back
up
to
here.
you.
He's got to show it off. So we had the doors open one spring, this past spring on a cool evening, and Roxy the boxer and Axel the wannabe bulldog that my wife won't let me take hunting, um, just come and go, and Tough comes and goes. Well, Tough being the security monster that he is, and I look down. We're staying in the kitchen. I look down. He's sitting there at a full sit, retrieving a possum right to the kitchen. I was like, well, we don't have very far to the pot with that one.
Yeah, you got some sweet potatoes. You know how to cook possum, don't you?
You put it on a pine board on the
Uh,
grill, and
that's
then
my
throw the
wife.
possum away and eat the board.
Yeah, or same thing with sweet potatoes. You bake them with sweet potatoes and you throw the possum and eat the sweet potatoes.
Yeah. There we go. Albrook Studios in Michigan. We currently run my feist on squirrels, working towards a combo dog. But I've been a coon hunter forever. Run anything that'll retrieve one. I ran a lot of combination dogs here in Indiana that were squirrel dogs and coon dogs. Yep. The
Man,
thing that, and they were all mountain curs. Um, Lots of grit. What's up, Doc? He was a little yellow mountain cur. Had some Kimmer blood in him. And my sassy female, they were both PKC money winners, but they would tree squirrels. It goes back to an earlier statement that we were talking about, or something we were talking about earlier about dogs having a preference. Both those dogs got to the point where they would rather coon hunt than squirrel hunt. Sassy would tree squirrels for me during the day, but she was a completely different dog when you coon hunted her. She really had the drive to be a coon dog.
this old guy I used to hunt with, Lee George. We hog hunted. He he was retired, so we would hog hunt 1 or 2 days a week, and he would either squirrel hunt or rabbit hunt almost every other day. Well, he had a mountain feist, a mountain cur cross with a feist,
Mm-hmm.
and all his squirrel dogs were mountain curs, but he had this mountain feist named Tex, who was a good hog dog. He truly was a combo dog, and he just, you know, when me and Lee hog hunted together, we hunted days. He didn't like to hunt nights, so that dog would pick up on our cue whether we was hog hunting or squirrel hunting. But how we would use Tex is where we hunt is so mountainous that we would have, sometimes these mountain curs a tree, well, it'd be a slick tree. So we would just keep Tex in the dog box. And when the dog's treed, we'd drop Tex. He'd run down in the bottom, and Tex would not bark unless he saw the squirrel. Like if Tex barked, grab the 22s. It's worth the walk down there because he's looking at it. We weren't going to a den tree or a slick tree. Tex was a cool dog. A hog finally killed him. He was a high drive dog. He was a nut dog on a pig. Like
Yeah.
he grabbed them by the nuts and made them things stop.
I
One
got to
got
tell
him
you about getting schooled by a feist in South Georgia.
schooled by one.
Oh my gosh. So, I had Doc with me and a buddy of mine. We went down for the UKC Southern Heritage squirrel hunt. It was a great hunt. A buddy of mine, Ronnie Rowland, put it on. And we started going down like a week early and just squirrel hunting down there. And Andy and I are both packing these highfalutin squirrel champion, night champion, hybrid, blah, blah, blah. And we're pretty proud of our dogs. Well, Ronnie had to work and he set us up with this buddy that had a little feist. His name was Scoop. That's all they call him was Scoop. And we were hunting Jim Fowler's plantation. Remember Jim Fowler, Big Jim from Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom?
The old guy?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, we hunted on his plantation. So we're driving through this plantation. There's like zebras and giraffes and kudu behind these high fence stuff. And we keep driving through here. And this guy's, he's guiding us. And we get down to this river bottom with a bunch of live oak trees and different stuff. We got there about 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And we turned these big, super powered cur dogs loose that treat every squirrel that we ever, every one in the woods. And we hunted our butts off for like 4 hours and scraped down 5 or 6 squirrels. I mean, it's pathetic. And and our the guy that was guiding us just left Scoop in the truck. He didn't even take him. He's like, "No, you guys go ahead and hunt your dogs." So we hunted like 3 or 4 hours and scraped down 5 squirrels. Well, about 40 minutes before dark, we got back to the truck and he says, "You mind if I turn Scoop out? See what he does?" That little sucker, he caught treat a limit of squirrels in like 40 minutes behind these big, high powered, fancy squirrel dogs that we brought down there. It was humbling. I think at one point Andy's dog was trashing on a kudu, and I mean,
But yeah, I mean, Mutual of Omaha, like I'm old enough that it's a it holds a big spot in my head. Like it came on Sunday night.
Sunday nights.
So like if we usually went to church on Sunday night. I don't remember what time it came on, but so I only got to watch it if we didn't go to church on Sunday night. But I remember watching. It's become somewhat famous at this point. But I remember watching the episode. I think I haven't looked it up to make sure, but I think it was the Lee brothers, and they roped. They treed a lion, and they basically headed it and heeled it
Yeah,
on horses, and then they just backed the horses up and just drew that line down, and then caught it live.
right.
I mean, that's got to be my favorite Mutual of Omaha moment. But
100%. And old Marlon Perkins was always standing in the background narrating and stuff, and they'd show him on the end of the rope, but they'd never show him on the end of the rope that had the water buffalo on the other end.
yeah,
And then it'd be like, and now Jim goes in and wrestles this alligator so that we can tag it. And they'd show Marlon back on the rope. He
he was
would.
a pretty scrawny dude.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But we hunted on his plantation. It was cool, and I got schooled by Scoop,
That's cool. Where was it?
South Georgia.
Georgia.
Yep, yep, down in South Georgia. We had a good time down there, man. I got to hunt on the Southern Heritage Plantation down there. Um, there's a guy that owned a lot of big corporate people owned those plantations down there, and Jimmy Phillips, who later worked for AKC, he was a UKC field rep. We'd go down and hunt with him. The worst I've ever been lost is in on a plantation in Georgia. Once the lights go out, man, if you don't
Everything's
have
the
your
same.
bearings, you just get completely turned around. It
I
all
don't.
looks the same.
I've never hunted Georgia.
Yep. Oh man, I'll tell you what, it's getting past my bedtime, Ed.
It's getting there. Let's run through these questions. We're not going to get to everybody. Let's see if we got a good one.
I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah.
Hard to heads cause. Oh, hogs. Yeah, less dogs is more. I get it.
Yeah, I think he was talking about. I think you were gone. This guy's having a hard time
Yep.
catching a pig, and I said, drop the dogs back. Hogs definitely get smart.
Yeah.
Keeps it interesting, though. I don't know about that, Jacob.
You want him to grow up to be a derelict.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't. Lots of the Bulldog guys do. They're
I
expensive.
I just
I've
I buy regular treadmills.
yeah, I've seen people do that. Uh, I mean, you can build your own. You can also just build a rig off a four wheeler if you got one and run them off the back of four wheeler.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get on them hogs that are hard to catch and not dump the whole box and just dump some decent dogs and then try to keep up to the race in the truck and relay fresh dogs into it, it's definitely a good strategy. Paul's talking about his Emmy dog, which was a Jag, which was a really good dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Cam, that's the same thing. I mean,
We already answered that one.
yeah, there may be some tricks out there, but I don't know.
Yeah, we covered that's Chuck Reynolds. We covered that.
Yeah,
That's the running dogs. They just glide.
I'll agree with that. Yeah, I mean, it's all personal preference. Not my deal, but if it suits you, then have fun.
Yeah, Michael Smith down here. He said in the cur dog's defense, squirrels move a lot just before dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a complete setup. I agree with you, Michael.
Oh,
But that little feist dog, he was really cool. I
you
mean,
gonna
he
blame it? You gonna blame it on that?
heck yeah. I'll take whatever. Michael gave me the perfect excuse right there to make me feel better about myself.
Yeah, Chris, I just don't want to keep an eye on them constantly. Yeah, I mean, Matt's. I mean, if you're hunting a place where you only got 300-acre spots, then for sure,
Yeah.
obviously, you're gonna hunt a closer dog. That doesn't mean those dogs aren't as good.
I want to talk about that. Go back to that one. What was that? Roading my casting dogs to tighten them up, but it depends a lot on the dog too. I have actually done that and took hunt out of them because
Yeah,
where I'm at, you know, um, I've got a I've got a circle that I run around a 10-acre field here, and I keep them pretty tight when I'm wanting to road. But they figure out real quick. It's actually conditioned them that when I'm in the buggy roading them, that they can't. They're not supposed to go very far. So when I go back out west and I get into bigger country, then I just keep the Garmin in my pocket, and it takes a day or two to get them loosened up and where they're getting out away from the buggy.
that will tighten them up. I mean, when we were running really long dogs, we would not road a dog because it definitely de- decreased range, and that was something we
Yep,
weren't
saw it
at.
firsthand. You saw it last year in the Gila.
Yeah, that's
I can talk
that's
about this.
that's you.
So yeah, the elite nutrition products. For one thing, I'll just answer it like this: um, Houndsman XP doesn't advertise or sponsor anybody's snake oil. I'm not driven for the dollar to the point where I'm going to sell somebody else's junk for them. I turned down a lot of sponsorships. I had to try elite nutrition products. Actually, I used it for about 6 months before we started selling it on our website and started doing a lot of that stuff. So um, I just got a call today from a guy. I'm not going to mention his name because I don't want the nepotism thing, and I didn't talk to him about it. But this is a well-known houndsman that started put all his dogs on the essential dog, and he's already seeing it. He's only been on it for about 4 weeks. As far as the limes and the tick-borne disease stuff, that's just all. I've not treated dogs with it. I'm going strictly off of what the elite nutrition folks are telling me. But they're the difference between this product and your doxycycline and is the fact that doxycycline just suppresses the antibodies where they don't have, they just push it down where it doesn't affect your dog's performance, where the elite nutrition products totally eliminate the antibodies, and they've got the data and the proof to show that it totally eliminates the tick-borne diseases. So I'm a big believer in it. I think God created a perfect system for our dogs to deal with stuff, and I think a lot of our antibiotics and different things um, defeat the immune system and make us dependent on antibiotics. So the natural stuff, while you're going through the treatment, it actually is boosting your dog's natural immune system. So I don't sell snake oil. I wouldn't support that.
No. Well, I think on that we'll close. If we didn't get to everybody's comment, come back next week. It was hard to keep up.
Yep. Man,
Uh,
we had a good crowd in here tonight.
yeah, and we'll do it. It's every Tuesday night. Last Tuesday night we didn't do it because Chris had just driven back X amount of hours from New Mexico. But we'll be here next weekend or next Tuesday.
You bet. All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
We'll see y'all next week.
All right.